We're going to go to CNN. The latest release of the Epstein files contains more than 3 million pages of material. It includes references to Donald Trump, among other notable and powerful men. Joining me live now is CNN reporter Julia Benbrook. Julia, wow, getting through this is going to take some time, and this is not the end of the Epstein files either.
A lot of documents here. This is the largest release that we've seen, more than 3 million pages of materials, and among those, more than 182,000 photos and videos. We did hear from Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, who said the Justice Department has completed its review of the files related to the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, and that the White House did not have oversight of this process. He spoke with CNN's Dana Bash earlier today, and Blanche acknowledged the disturbing nature of much of what is in these files, but said that none of it met the threshold for a prosecution. So as of right now, don't expect any more action in that specific way. Now, there are mentions of a lot of high-profile names throughout this, and that's not a surprise. We know that Epstein ran in those circles. A review of these recent documents found that Trump was mentioned more than 1,000 times and in various different ways. It's important to note that he has denied any wrongdoing related to Epstein and has not been accused by law enforcement of involvement in Epstein's crimes. Now, as we are seeing these documents, we need to take a step back as to how we got to see these documents. And it was a bipartisan effort on Capitol Hill led by Democrat Ro Khanna and Republican Thomas Massie. They forced a vote that then led to almost unanimous support. And then Trump ultimately did sign it into law after saying that he didn't think this was a necessary step to make all of these things public. And those two lawmakers that I mentioned, they have said that this release is significant, but that it's not enough, that they're not satisfied with everything that they've received. And they take a couple issues with how this played out. Some of the deadlines that were given to the Department of Justice were missed. And then on top of that, they are questioning why some things were redacted and left out. Also questioning how some of the names were not redacted, things that should have been taken care of. So they are requesting some more information from Blanche. Blanche has said that he is open to having those conversations.
Thanks so much for the update. And that is not the last of the Epstein files, as I mentioned live there with CNN's Julia Benbrook. Just when you thought the Epstein files were being delayed and forgotten about, there's been a big drop over the weekend, and there's some big names in these files. And I just want to remind you that there's a difference between being in the emails and on this so-called list. But let's talk about it. Joining me live now is former White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney. Mick, thanks so much for your time. Geez, there's some big names here. Can we start perhaps with Bill Gates? He's in Australia at the moment. He was at the tennis. He's issued a denial. But geez, this is damaging.
It is, Laura, but you have to give sort of the right preface here, which is this is raw data. Just because something is in the file doesn't mean it's necessarily true. And that's what a lot of folks are saying, is that anybody can say anything about anybody these days, and they do, and now it's end up in the file. So we have to be very careful about jumping to conclusions. That being said, a lot of the information that has come out, or at least some of it is contained in sworn affidavits by alleged victims and so forth. So you probably give that a little bit of credit, at least if someone's willing to sign an affidavit. But look, you're right. The bottom line is this, is that there's a ton of salacious information in here, several million documents unloaded, as typical on a Friday or a Saturday, a news dump going into the weekend to try and lower its profile. But the bottom line is it's going to be weeks, and that's not an exaggeration, before people go through all of the documents that were unloaded this weekend. And if you believe folks at the FBI, roughly half of the documents remain unproduced at this point, so there could be more in the future.
Okay, interesting. I wonder how they are dividing it up in terms of what is released and what isn't. But what is clear to me at the moment, there's so much interest in this, and there's a lot of guilt just by association of Jeffrey Epstein. because now we have all of this hindsight, right? But what strikes me is the amount of sucking up to Jeffrey Epstein that these powerful people were willing to do, even after he was convicted of these sex offences, is just baffling. Can you give us an idea of when he was alive, just how powerful he was, and why did that power remain even after these convictions?
You know, I didn't move in those circles, so I didn't know Jeffrey Epstein. I know a bunch of the people who are named in various pieces of these files and so forth in these reports. If you're asking me, do I think that sex and power have an impact on people? Yeah, they probably have for a long time, and it looks like that's what this was about. One of the more interesting things that, to your point, Laura, that's come up over the last 48 hours is whether or not these documents seem to indicate that the Kremlin was involved somehow in Epstein's operation. Was the KGB helping to fund this? That could go to your point about, you know, why did he have so much money? Why did he have so much ability? Why did he have so much power? If he was being assisted by the KGB in order to, you know, develop dirt on famous people, that would explain part of it. But again, this is still very early in the analysis.
Yeah, and of course there's the conspiracy that he was actually working for Israel's Mossad as well, but there's nothing in these files that would be giving any credence to that theory. But the big names, Elon Musk, Donald Trump, apparently mentioned 1,000 times in this latest dump. Again, it doesn't make him guilty of anything, but I'm looking at, I guess we can call it collateral damage as well. We've got these big headline figures, but also people like Peter Attia, who now works for CBS. He's become, you know, this longevity guru. And some of the email exchange, I think there's a big entertainment value in this, and people poring over this private correspondence is going to have, well, look, there's a lot of news columns that are going to be written about this. It makes our job a lot easier here in the news.
It's not going away. And how many times have you and I talked about that over the course of the last year since Donald Trump got elected, about how they've mismanaged, the administration has, the drip, drip, drip of these documents and of this material. You have to ask yourself why this all just wasn't put out at one time in January. Pull the Band-Aid off and let the chips fall where they do, as opposed to providing this constant new feed of this salacious material that people will eat up. There's no question. Look, there's a reason tabloids are as successful as they are. People love reading about this stuff. And it is absolutely going to be a distraction for Donald Trump. There is no question, a distraction for the Republicans. Don't get me wrong. There's Democrats in these files as well. This is a purely bipartisan, a true bipartisan sort of endeavor, but Donald Trump, being who he is going to have to face a lot of questions for the next several weeks until the next dump comes out.